Hey, yo, Foxboro, how's it going? Happy Friday to all of you. Thank you for watching once again on my very first of the season. I think it's my first pre-game episode. I don't think I've done this yet. So that's exciting. I can't believe it's already week 3. I feel like the football season always goes by so fast and it really bums me out. So um also, I feel like I look very washed out, very overexposed, and I'm not really sure um how to fix that. So I apologize if it's a little bright. Um I kind of can't figure it out this today. So um anyway, just ignore that, I guess. So hello, Chris. Hello. You were the first one to comment. Hello, hello. Um yeah, let's get straight into it. I want to talk about the Patriots first home game of the season against the Ravens. And there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to be optimistic about, though. I know a lot of people are feeling pretty wishy-washy about how this game is going to go, and I think the Patriots are underdogs, and basically no one is picking the Patriots. When I was looking through some of the expert picks today, a lot of people are picking the Ravens. So we got to be optimistic. Why am I so overexposed? Oh my goodness. I don't understand. It's so bright. It's just so bright today. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's just way too bright. Okay. Well, anyway, let's get right into it. Also, I saw your comment, Freddie. Hello. So let's talk about the Patriots and Ravens injury report. So obviously it's Friday. They still have one to put out tomorrow, and we'll get, the final one on Sunday. So things can change. But first, we see no one is listed as out or doubtful for the Patriots, which is a good sign considering the injuries that they were dealing with like Kyle Duggar, who's been dealing with a knee, and he left the game last week and did not return. Didn't practice a whole lot this week either. Same thing with Jacoby Myers. He was dealing with a knee injury. Didn't practice that much this week. They were there every day, as far as I read, but were limited or didn't practice at all. Today, they were finally limited. So good sign coming into Sunday. Let's see. Jalen Mills was limited. Raekwon McMillan had a cast on his right hand and arm, which he's been dealing with a thumb injury. He was limited at practice as well today. And so they're all questionable for Sunday with Bledsoe, Cody Davis, Gotcha, and Adrian Phillips. The Ravens put their injury report out, and I only kept down the ones that are, had missed practices or whatever. So Rashad Bateman did not practice today. Isaiah Likely is a tight end. He was limited. And Ronnie Staley, he's a tackle. He did not practice today. And I think Field Yates had just said that it looks like he's probably not going to play. So there's that. Not a whole lot of good or bad on either side, but positive that Jacoby Myers and Kyle Duggar were actually at practice and kind of like getting physical today, because they were not looking so good leading up to today, which was a little bit scary, especially Jacoby Myers, given the fact that he's wide receiver 1. So I want to talk about the key matchups and the keys to victory for the Patriots this week. The first being to take advantage of the Ravens' shaky defense. Now, the Ravens and the Patriots have always been quite a matchup, quite a crazy matchup. They have some of, like, I would say, most memorable moments over the last 20 years in playoff games and whatnot. And so this is going to be an interesting game because they haven't played each other for 2 years. The last time they played was that crazy rainy weather game in 2020 where Belichick controlled the weather, and the Patriots won with a big help from Kyle Duggar towards the end of the game. And so it's been 2 years, and the Ravens are kind of on a crazy streak right now. Everyone's talking about Lamar being on an MVP run again this season. So there is a little bit of scariness there. But as far as their defense, we have to look at it. So they played the Jets week 1, and that was against a Joe Flacco-led Jets team who threw for 59 times in that game, which is absolutely insane. He was 37 to 59 for 309 yards, a touchdown and an interception. The Ravens defense only allowed 83 total rushing yards, but they allowed over 300 yards or more. I didn't even write that down. How did I do that? Let's see how many yards they total offense that they allowed, because I apparently did not write that down. Let's go ESPN, let's go. Okay. So they did beat the Jets, obviously 24-9, and total offense, 309 total receiving yards plus 83 on the ground. So the Jets are not known to have a good run game at this point. I think there was a lot of hype around Breece Hall, but it seems like they're not really implementing him that much right now. So kind of unclear about that. And then in week 2, we know the craziness that was the Ravens and Dolphins game last week. And so if we're going to look at something, I don't know if it's more relevant, but I would say maybe because that's how they played last week and the Patriots played the Dolphins. Oh my goodness. It's so bright in here. Okay. Last week they allowed Tua to also throw for 50 times, which is not good. He was 36 of 50 for 469 yards, 6 touchdowns, which is absolute insanity. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle combined for 361 yards and 4 touchdowns. So the Ravens defense had a very difficult time last week. They allowed them to come back when they were down 35-14. Basically, they took the ball over the Dolphins when there was like 25 seconds left in the third quarter. And the rest of the game, they were just scoring. They scored 4 touchdowns on 4 consecutive drives. And 3 of those 4 drives were touchdowns in under 2 minutes. I think the longest drive was a little bit over 2 minutes. The rest were basically a minute and a half and less. So they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything to stop the Dolphins. And the big positive from that is that the Patriots defense did a lot better job against the Dolphins the week before. So if that's any indication, then I think that's a good sign for the Patriots, and people are kind of overlooking that. So they went 4 for 4 in the red zone, and they dominated the time of possession. It was 34-47 to 25-13. So although the numbers look absolutely crazy, even Lamar's numbers look a little bit crazy for this game, their defense just let the Dolphins do basically whatever they wanted to do as far as the receiving game. The Ravens don't really have the Dolphins are another team that doesn't really have a solid run game either. So it's kind of hard to evaluate how the Patriots could do on the ground against the Ravens, because they've already faced 2 teams that don't have a well-known like running back room at this point. So that is something that we'll have to talk about and see how they do. It's kind of hard to, like I said, to guess how that's going to go. Then we also want to talk about the Patriots receivers. Kind of goes hand in hand against the Ravens secondary. So as I said, the Ravens defense allowed 361 total yards to two receivers. They had 4 touchdowns. One of them had a long of 60, which I want to say was Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle had a 59-yard touchdown as well. Reception, sorry. They also gave a touchdown up to Mike Gesicki, who went 4 for 4 for 41 yards and a touchdown. So I'm wondering if that means that the Patriots might want to implement tight ends more, because Gesicki is kind of an under the radar tight end, kind of he's not really discussed as like a top tight end in the league. So it kind of gives you the opportunity for the Patriots to try and include Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith in some capacity, because as we've talked on previous episodes and on Twitter, the 2 of them have basically been MIA so far this season. And it's hard to say if it has anything to do with just the disjointedness of the Patriots offense in general. Max kind of questionable decision making, or if it falls on the shoulders of the tight end solely. But I think that given the fact that the Ravens gave up so much yardage to those two receivers, that the Patriots could possibly exploit them by using tight ends. We'll have to see. I think as far as speed goes, because we know Tyreek Hill is super fast, and we're going to be missing at least the equivalent with Tyquan Thornton being out. I'm wondering if they're going to maybe use Aguilar more, if they're going to use Kendrick Bourne more, if we're going to see more of Devontae Parker. I want to see more of Devontae Parker, but it still worries me because of how two of their passes to him already have resulted in interceptions. And so that makes me nervous. It's good that all three of them can stretch the field for sure, but it's just a little bit nerve-wracking when when the plays are resulting in interceptions, and that's something that they cannot do in this game. You can't give the Ravens extra opportunities to help catch up or to get ahead of you. You don't want to play from behind. So there's also something to watch with Jakobi Meyers. So like I said at the start of the show, that Jakobi Meyers has been limited or didn't play basically all week. So I would assume that they're going to try and get him to play. And but in what capacity he's going to play, I think is going to be interesting. If he does play, I'm just wondering how much he actually will play. I don't know if he'll be able to be like that wide receiver one for the whole game. So how they're going to deal with his possible absence is going to be interesting. I'm wondering if, because of Aguilar having such a good game last week, if they will try to bring him in more. I would love to see more Kendrick Bourne, especially because opponents don't have a whole lot of tape on him this year. They can look and see what he did last year, but it's kind of unclear with what they're trying to do with Bourne this year. So I think that kind of opens some more opportunities for them, especially against such, like I said, a shaky defense. But yeah, so we'll have to see. I want to see what you guys are saying. The Ravens Freddie says they had 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter alone, which is insane. It really is. I mean, I remember when I was looking at it because I don't think I have any Dolphins players in fantasy, but I do have some Ravens players. I think I had them on my bench, unfortunately, but I had Mark Andrews. So I was paying attention to the game because I have, a couple players in my fantasy league. So I was like, okay, it's 35-14. Like, they're not coming back. It's the fourth quarter. They're not coming back. And then I see that they're catching up. And, eventually once the Patriots game was over, they flipped us to that game. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is happening? How did you allow this to happen? The ending of that game was actually insane. So it's kind of like a good thing and a bad thing, I would say, because you see what the Dolphins were able to do to them and what the Patriots were able to do in limiting the Dolphins just a week before. But then at the same time, that the Ravens are going to be kind of embarrassed about losing in that way, and that they're going to come into this game making sure that that doesn't happen again. So makes you wonder, what types of things are they going to try to change from what they did last week. Chris says Mac needs to spread the ball more to his wide receivers and tight ends and keeps the Ravens D guessing. Yeah, I'm wondering if he's going to we saw that the offensive line did a lot better, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but we saw those clips of, little Jordan Humphrey being wide open, or the other play that he threw to Jonnu Smith, and Kendrick Bourne and Jakobi Meyers were both open. So I'm wondering if they're going to try and give him more time to scan the field, because that's going to be important, I think, in this game, because he missed so many quite a few good opportunities in last week's game. And that's going to be a huge problem if that continues through the season, especially when they're playing opponents like the Ravens this week and the Packers next week. They can't keep doing that. So Ron94, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, so thank you for joining. Chris says, I had Lamar as my fantasy starting quarterback, 100 points. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. How do you play 100 points? You get like double points or something like that? Freddie says, only issue is we can't get down that much and expect to come back. We don't have the personnel to be down more than 3 touchdowns to come back versus the Ravens. Exactly. Yeah, we can't play from behind. So they're definitely going to have to limit them. And I'm going to get into that. Raw 94 says we got to steal this game, got to get these tight ends involved. Exactly. I don't know if you were here, but I was just talking about that. I was thinking that the Ravens didn't I don't think that they've looked very good against tight ends. So I would love to see Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith implemented more for sure. Let's see. So we also have to take into account their cornerbacks, speaking of their secondary, because they do have Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, but they got blown up in the fourth quarter. Basically, any cornerback that had to cover Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle got blown up in the fourth quarter, but I was seeing it was a lot of it was coming from Marcus Peters, and then there was another one, but I can't think of who it was at the top of my head. But yeah, definitely exploit them. I think that Aguilar and Bourne are probably their best matchups, but we'll see. I'm really hopeful that we'll see more of those two, especially Kendrick Bourne. So let's get into the offensive line. I was just alluding to that. So the offensive line needs to keep on their path of getting better. Like we saw last week, they have to keep Mac upright this week. We saw how much better they played against the Steelers when they were able to protect him. He was not sacked at all last week, and I think he was only hit 3 times. Baltimore's defense had 3 sacks and 10 quarterback hits against the Jets, which is insane. But last week they only had 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits against Tua. So that's a drastic change. And I would say that the Patriots are kind of probably in the middle of that. I don't expect them to have that many sacks and hits like they did against the Jets, but obviously Tua is more of a Lamar type of quarterback who can move around and run the ball himself. So I don't know that that is going to be at all relatable for Mac this week, but that is a drastic difference. And they do have Calais Campbell and Justin Houston up front on the line. So we got to see some more Cole Strange going up against those strong veterans like he did last week when he was covering Cam Hayward. He did a fantastic job. So hopefully he can be one of the contributors on the line this week to keep Mac from being on the ground. They were so much better last week. Even without TJ Watt, the Steelers were still a good team. They still have big name guys and really great players on their line. So as much as people want to discredit the Patriots for beating the Steelers and they want to say it was more of a Steelers loss than the Patriots win, you know, it is what it is, but they showed much more promising production last week than I think most of us were anticipating, especially how they looked against the Dolphins. So I'm trying to be hopeful for that. The Steelers had 2 sacks and 4 quarterback hits last night. So the fact that they weren't able to get to Mac basically at all last week, I think that shows you how good of a job that the Patriots O-line did. They didn't allow a single sack last week. And like I said, it was 3 quarterback hits. I was right. So, and the Dolphins allowed 3 sacks and 7 quarterback hits when the Patriots played them. So, definitely something that they're going to have to keep getting better at. It's going to be one of those talking points for the rest of the season. You know, we want to make sure that Mac is given the opportunity to stay and make plays, and then also given time to scan the field, because that is a problem for him right now. His decision making is a problem. So hopefully if the offensive line can be playing exactly how they played last week, then the offense should be good. Another big point of emphasis, containing Lamar Jackson as much as possible, if possible. The Patriots have been pretty good when they've played the Ravens in the past with Lamar Jackson, so it's not like a super big concern, but this is a brand new team versus a brand new offense, or a brand new team in the Ravens as well. So it's kind of, there's question marks there. It's been 2 years since they've played each other, and a lot has changed on both teams. So I don't think that looking back at their past matchups is necessarily relevant to this game. We're looking at Lamar so far this season because it is only week 3, guys, even if it does feel like it's been a lot more, especially with how people are talking about the Patriots. But so Lamar was 17 of 30 for 213 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception, and also had 6 carries for 17 yards in week 1 against the Jets. So I don't know if that was a Jets defense thing or if Lamar just didn't feel like he needed to run the ball, but the fact that he was limited to only 17 yards on the ground is a huge win for the Jets, despite the fact that they lost massively. We see what he can do in week 2. He was 21 to 29 for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns, while also having 9 carries for 119 yards and a touchdown. So massive difference between the two. Dolphins absolutely nothing, allowed him to run everywhere. One of those the rushing touchdown was a run of 79 yards. So hopefully the Patriots don't let that happen to them. I mean, they played, like I said, they played better against the Dolphins defense than the Ravens did. So we'll see. They also aren't really doing a whole lot on the ground, but that's another thing. It's the same when you have a quarterback that can run the ball himself. They don't necessarily have a top-notch run game. In week 1, Kenyon Drake was a top back. He had 11 carries for 31 yards. And last week, it was basically Lamar. Again, like no run game. So that's not really, I would assume that's not really going to be a concern for the Patriots defense in this game. It's going to be Lamar. So I think it's going to be a difficult task for sure. And, it's going to be a big test for them because they're going to be facing more mobile quarterbacks, especially not just this year, but for the years to come, because that's just kind of the direction in which quarterbacks are going right now. So, hopefully they can limit him as much as possible. He was sacked twice and had 4 quarterback hits. I think it was in week 1. They had 0 sacks. Miami had 0 sacks and 0 quarterback hits against him last week. That's absolutely insane. I understand maybe not having a sack, but the fact that you didn't even get to him a single time is a little bit insane. Oh my goodness. This lighting is driving me crazy, guys. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying. Raw94 says we're going to have to keep drives going. No stupid penalties. Yep, I'm going to get into that too. Peppers looked good last week. If Duggar is out, he's going to have to step up this week. Yeah, I feel pretty good about if Peppers has to play. Obviously, I'd prefer Kyle Duggar. But if Duggar can play, I kind of hope that they limit him as much as they possibly can, because I don't want him to get further injured that makes it worse, and makes it so that he has to miss games in the more games in the future. I think that would be more of an issue. They're still early enough in the season that if they have to kind of limit him and bring in Peppers, then they have that option to. It's not like they don't have a solid guy wings if Duggar needs to kind of sit on the sidelines a little bit. So there were a couple players that were talking about, or a couple defensive players that were talking about defending Lamar and their fast offense. It was yesterday when they were talking about it. Devin McCourty said, when you go against a good football team and you go against some really good players out there, you can't have guys out there saying, this is my play. You don't know what the offense is going to do. No matter what, we have to stay disciplined, especially with a guy like Lamar Jackson. The hard thing with him is he got better. You watch him sit in the pocket and a lot more patient. And that's true. I think that's something that people like to say, that he can't be a pocket passer, or he's just always running all over the field, which is true to an extent. But he is getting better at passing. Like, he just threw for over 300 yards last week. I think it was, what was first week? I just had the numbers. 200 yards, but still, the fact that he is a dual threat quarterback just makes him much more scary to defend. Uche talked about that, and he said it's going to take discipline from all 11 guys on the field, just everyone executing their assignments. Dietrich Wise would talk about it as well, and he said in order to contain Lamar, that you need to have, quote, a lot of pressure, honestly, and a lot of teamwork out front. Being able to contain him and apply the pressure is a challenge, but something we can do. So hopefully this new, young, and aggressive Patriots defense can get the job done. We've seen that a lot of these players were around 2 years ago. So they're familiar. And then, of course, we know that one of the defensive leaders in Matthew Judon was on the Ravens. So he practiced against Lamar. So that is a good sign as well. Freddie says we need to stop Mark Andrews. I swear, do you see my notes, Freddie? Because that's what I'm going to talk about. I think, is it next? Yes. As much as you can and make the wide receivers make plays. That's what I was going to talk about next. So 1 second. Ron94 says, or are you going to have to start streaming game on your channel at least your commentary? What? Or you, what do you mean? What? I'm confused. So the next talking point, I want to talk about limit Mark Andrews and slow down the receivers. Freddie beat me to it. Freddie beat me to it. So Mark Andrews, one of my favorite tight ends in the league. So this is going to be a weird week for me because he's also the only good tight end that I have in any of my fantasy leagues. So I want him to get me points, but I don't want him to get me points, if that makes any sense. So week 1 versus the Jets, he went 5 of 7 for 52 yards, but he went off last week because why wouldn't he when the Dolphins were just allowing anything to happen? He was 9 of 11 for 104 yards and a touchdown. So obviously he is a big guy. He's hard to take down, very difficult to stop from making explosive plays. He's just that type of tight end, a Gronk type of tight end. So the Patriots are going to have their work cut out for them, and especially because they haven't played any solid tight ends so far this year. When they played the Dolphins, Gesicki was 1 of 1 for 1 yard, and Durham Smith was 1 of 2 for 14 yards. He's just another like a backup tight end for the Dolphins. Last week they did play Freiermuth, which obviously is a little bit of a better tight end at this point. He's in his second year. He went 4 of 7 for 22 yards and a touchdown. It was an 8-yard touchdown on 3rd and 4 at the start of the 4th quarter. So we know obviously that Mark Andrews is a completely different player than these guys, so he's going to be a lot more difficult for them to defend. But they have in the past. So Mark Andrews is not new at all. So Freddie says, I have him in one of my fantasy leagues, so it's a double-edged sword. It is. That's why it's like, it's always difficult. And I generally don't pick up Patriots players at all in any of my fantasy leagues because I'm so superstitious that I don't want to have them in my fantasy leagues because I don't want to be like rooting for them extra hard or like putting more pressure on myself for them to be doing well. I don't know. I feel superstitious about it, so I don't do it. And then of course I really don't like having players on my team that are good and then they go against the Patriots. I hate it. It just makes me very uncomfortable. So I feel, if Andrews is the reason I lose this week, then I guess I will be accepting of it simply because he went against the Patriots. But that's the only reason. Every other week it's going to be very infuriating. Ron94 says, are you going to start streaming the past games on with your commentary? I don't know. It's possible. I did that I think once last year with the Bills. I think it was the first Bills game. I can consider it for sure because I think that was a Thursday night game and that's why I did it. I can think about it. I can even ask people on Twitter too if you guys would want to see that. Obviously it would just be me watching the game and the stream on my face because I would get copywritten if I had the game live. But if that's something you guys would be interested in, let me know and I could possibly do that again. I'll just have to look and see what games I would have available to do that. So, also we have to talk about the receivers as well on top of Mark Andrews. So they do have some sneaky good receivers, and I want to talk about Duvernay, who is, I don't know if is he a rookie? I have to look at that because he has been standing out. He had a really good first game. Oh no, he's not a rookie. So when did he get drafted? Oh shoot, that scared me. Oh my goodness, guys. A video just started playing on ESPN and scared the crap out of me. Oh my gosh, you just saw it in real time. Okay. Anyway, so Duvernay is a guy that they're going to definitely have to look out for. Also, he had a really good first game. I thought I had the stats, but I guess I don't. I swear I did, but apparently I don't. And then Rashad Bateman also had a great week last week. He went 4 of 7 for 108 and 1 touchdown, a long of 75 yards. He was not practicing today. I don't know if that's indicating if he's going to play on Sunday or not. They already said that Duvernay cleared concussion protocol, so he should be playing. They're saying that Bateman should be playing, but I think that him not playing or practicing today is a little bit more concerning for them. So I would pay attention to that for sure. But yeah, they have some guys that they're going to have to monitor. I think Andrews is going to be one of the tougher ones for them, but I'm a little bit more optimistic than other people are as far as the Patriots secondary goes. I know a lot of people don't feel too confident in it, but they've done pretty good so far. They were really good with Tyreek Hill for the most part and Jalen Waddle. And those are two really fast guys. I think probably the fastest ones that they've faced this season so far. So I think that they can be okay. I'm trying to put that out into the atmosphere, trying to be optimistic because that's how I am. And I'm going to continue to be that way. So another key emphasis that they need to do is running the football. So as I said a little bit ago, it's a little bit tricky to say how their run game would go against Baltimore because we haven't really seen in the first 2 weeks teams that have a solid run game, and the Patriots we know have the 1-2 punch right now with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. So when they're able to rely on the run game is when they win games. So I want to keep seeing the run game. It's just a little bit questionable for how it's going to go. But against the Steelers, Damian Harris had 15 carries for 71 yards and a touchdown. Stevenson had 9 carries for 47 yards. And against the Dolphins, Harris had 9 carries for 48 yards. Stevenson had 8 carries for 25 yards. So Harris is still getting basically the RB1 treatment and got a touchdown last week. I think that they're still kind of missing Montgomery because he was that dual threat running back, and he was more involved in the passing game. He was 3 of 4 for 15 yards and a touchdown against the Dolphins. So I think that they might be missing that this week, which is unfortunate. So I don't know if we're going to see more of Stevenson in the passing game since he seems to be more on that track than Harris has been. So we shall see in that regard, but I'm hoping that they are able to be successful in the run game because that takes a lot of pressure off of Mac Jones. It takes a lot of pressure off of the receivers, but I think that they're probably going to try and test the defense because they were absolutely atrocious in the fourth quarter of last week. So if that continues, then I mean, I don't see why they would need the run game if we're being honest. Another key point, as always, every single week, but it's already a problem this year, just like it was at the start of last year, is to not turn the ball over. They lost the turnover battle against Miami. There were 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, one of which was returned for a touchdown and an interception. They won it last week because they only had, I think, didn't Jones only throw 1 interception? But the defense had an interception, and there was a fumble recovery by Brendan Schooler. So as we've seen over the past however many years, when the Patriots win the turnover battle, they win the game. And when they lose the turnover battle, they lose the game. So I think that they need to be emphasizing that again this season. It was the same issue that they ran into at the beginning of last year, too. So hopefully we're going to be seeing more of them just progressing in that area, getting better at protecting the football. This is a game that you do not want to give this offense another opportunity. You do not want to give the ball to Lamar Jackson more than you have to. That's just a recipe for disaster, if you ask me. And we also have to stop the penalties. I emphasized that this past Monday when talking about the Steelers game. It's been an issue again this year. They're just getting a lot of penalties, and last week it was all on the offense, which is not going to help an offense that's struggling. So hopefully they can get that under control. Once again, you do not want to be giving any extra opportunities to this Ravens offense. And you don't want to be screwing yourself by getting penalized and pushing the ball further back or taking away big plays. And that's exactly what happened last week. They were able to get the win, but it wasn't a safe win. You know, they were really shooting themselves in the foot with how many penalties they were getting on offense, especially. So that is going to be a big thing this week. Chris says the Patriots need to convert on third down more. Yes, and I meant to write in my notes as well that they need to be better about stopping third down conversions and on fourth down, because that was a problem last week. They were allowing the Steelers to get convert on third downs. They were also, I think it was against the Dolphins, that were just like they were going for it on almost every fourth down and it was successful. So they need to be better about that too, especially with, monitoring Lamar. I mean, that's going to be the easiest way for them to convert a third down or to get a fresh set of downs on fourth down. So that's going to be a huge issue. And again, it's an easy way for them to lose if they just allow it to happen over and over again. Ron94 says, man, Mills was up and down last week. You got to be better. Yeah, I liked what we saw from him in preseason and training camp, and I'm hoping that he can get back to that. I think that we know that Jonathan Jones is kind of playing more on the outside, which is not something that he has traditionally done. So there might be some growing pains over in the secondary too, but I think that they've done pretty good so far, limiting some tough guys like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle last week, Chase Claypool, and Deontay Johnson. They were all having a difficult time getting any good plays. So I think that they're capable of it. I think that the biggest problem is going to be Lamar. Honestly, I don't know about the receivers. It's going to be like Lamar and Mark Andrews, basically. I think that's like going to be, it needs to be their focus in this game. Chris says, in conclusion, get ahead, stay ahead, bleed the clock, and pick up the W for a home opener. Yeah. So, and you know what's funny is like a lot of people were saying like, oh, well, the Patriots are finally playing their first home game. It's week 3, blah blah blah, and thinking, oh, okay, like it's a good it's a good win for them. It'll be like a big win for them at home. And I'm like, do you guys not remember that they actually had a worse home record last year than they did away? They were better on the road last year than they were at home. So that home field advantage doesn't really seem relevant for them. I'm hoping that that's a different thing this year, because it's really unfortunate for, as a fan and you're there, that you go and you play at home and it's supposed to be that home field advantage. And the Patriots were just like, no, we're going to play worse and we're just going to keep losing every time we're at home. So I hope that's different. And I hope that they can get this win. It would be a big boost for them heading into week 4 against Green Bay. That's going to be a tough game. And I'm just going to like, I hate that I have to watch the Packers. I am not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. If you know me, then you know how much I just cannot stand that man. So the fact that I'm going to have to sit there and watch him is very unfortunate, and I'm not looking forward to it. Freddie says we could easily be 2-0 right now. Yes. They were making really ridiculous mistakes against the Dolphins. The Dolphins were held to basically 13 points. And they were mistakes that were super avoidable. And that's what I think is kind of crazy too, is you see how the Patriots, people were so impressed with the Dolphins after week 1 against the Patriots, but we saw what they did against the Ravens, and the Patriots didn't allow that to happen. They were nowhere near allowing that to happen. So I feel like that's a little bit, it's misjudged. I think that the Patriots defense deserves to be credited more with what they did to the Dolphins, because they didn't allow 42 points. Like they weren't allowing the Dolphins to do whatever they wanted. And, Tua's been good so far. So, but it's the national media and they don't want to credit the Patriots with anything, because that's just how it has been forever. Even with Mac Jones in there, you thought that, or at least I thought that maybe it would stop a little bit once Brady left, but apparently that's not the case. The national media just doesn't want to like the Patriots. So here we are. So that is all that I have for today, but I will be back on Monday for the Patriots Ravens post-game analysis, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that good stuff that you guys are giving me such great feedback on, and I really appreciate it. If you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns, let me know on Twitter. I'm trying to figure out how to turn my comments on my YouTube channel, because I'm seeing that they're turned off. I don't know how that happened, so I'll have to get that figured out. But I appreciate you guys joining me today. And yes, I will be watching SmackDown Friday, probably when it's on at my time. not live. Because I think it's on live. It's on at 5 p.m. my time live, but I'll probably watch it when it's on here, and that's at 7. So yes, I will be watching that, and I'll be working on my next piece for PW Mania. In case you guys didn't see that and you're a wrestling fan, I will be writing about wrestling now. So thank you guys for joining me today. I will see you guys on Monday, and please talk to me on Twitter. I enjoy talking to you guys. So until then, don't forget, go Pats. Bye.